everybody, Terrence Popp here, Redonkulous.com with another episode from the Lair. I got a question in the email. Somebody's out there watching my Army stories. I love them, but they asked me a question in regards to inspections. Are they the same in the Army as they are in the Marine Corps? Well, I was never in the Marine Corps, so I don't know how they run their shit, but, yeah. I would say they're probably very similar, depending upon who your chain of command is and what the hell they have from what they're looking for. Now, when you're in basic training, they start off with the getting you ready for the inspections that will take place when you're at your unit. So they come, they look at your wall locker, and they give you like it's like a picture or a diagram of how they want the inside of your wall locker to look, to include underwear, t-shirts rolled up, how many in a drawer, where you put your brass. It's like at any given moment when you're in basic, your wall locker should be opened up and displayed, and it should look sort of like it's a museum, which you and I both know is unrealistic, but that's the way it was explained to me. Okay, there's the wall locker one, and then there's the TI-50 inspection, and where they make you canoe your, roll out your sleeping bag and canoe it out, and they put your LB, your helmet, your rucksack, and all your other, odds and ends. And usually, the way the inspections work, very rarely will they accept your shit at the first glance, especially if you're learning about how to do inspections. They scrutinize everything, they fuck with everything, and some people don't really grasp the concept that no matter what you do, your shit is still going to be fucked up. Okay? Once you realize that, it doesn't really, it becomes way, way less stressful. I mean, I watch guys implode, staying up at night, buffing their shoes, cleaning off their LB with a toothbrush, all kinds of crazy ass shit. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, because in any given moment, you're going to run into people in your everyday life. Some are going to have OCD, and some guys are going to be pretty laid back. Very rarely do you have anybody go from OCD to being laid back, usually not without a long, drawn-out beatdown or life-changing event. That's neither here nor there. So this bunch of stories is, I'm going to call it inspections, okay? And these are some of the funny stories about people, looking at your shit and fucking you up for it. I mean, if you live in the barracks, this is pretty much what's going to happen. If you're in an infantry unit, this is pretty much the frequency that these inspections take place. Okay, you'll have a full inspection of your equipment, usually quarterly. That may or may not include a wall locker inspection and an inspection on your room. They usually all go together, they knock them out together, but I've seen it happen separately. And then you'll have usually a once-a-month barracks inspection, at a minimum by your platoon sergeant or your first sergeant. Okay? I've had the first sergeant walk through the barracks all the time, and the worst time for them to show up is when it's unannounced, because that's when you find all the crazy shit, and we'll get to that. Let's see. Okay, twice a year you're going to have a company equipment showdown, and it usually involves the subcomponent inventory. For instance, you say camouflage kit vehicle. Okay, they're going to look at that for the subcomponents, like how many aluminum poles, net spreaders, how many, what is it? Tie downs, pegs, and all that other bullshit. They really get into the details. And if you're missing a couple of fucking, tent stakes and shit, they may or may not, force the lieutenant who signed for it to, take a statement of charges to have that shit fucking corrected. Okay, let's see. Usually the first Friday before Christmas leave begins, you will have a in-ranks Class A inspection. They usually do it in the morning, and after lunch, everyone's pretty much released to go take care of deficiencies, and then your squad leader or platoon sergeant can check those deficiencies at the end of the day to see if they're corrected. Usually there's not a lot of stress in this, but I've seen guys pull a pin in the fat grenade and gain 20 fucking pounds and try to fucking, stick their meat suit into a suit which no longer contains their girth. So you see like huge amounts of meat hanging over the neck, splits up the back, all kinds of crazy shit. But hey, it is what it is. In Legland, dudes get fatter. I'm just saying. Let's see. There's the health and welfare. Now, they say it's for health and welfare. It's for everyone there. It's not. Usually a health and welfare is conducted when the chain of command finds out some crazy ass shit's been going on in the barracks and they want it to stop. A lot of times they'll say they're going to have health and welfare, and the way I used to do it, I would tell everyone on a Wednesday, I'm having a health and welfare, and this is what I'm looking for, and we're going to conduct it. And everyone would give me the groan, and I'm like, on Friday. So I'm giving pretty much everybody 2 days to get the shit out of the fucking barracks or in their living area. And if I come through and I find it after I've given you such a blatant warning, I'm royally going to fuck you up. That's just the way it is. Let's see. One of the key things, especially when I was lower enlisted, that I was really good at, I had a reputation for being the pack rat. And what I mean by that is, during your, you go into the motor pool or wherever you go about your duties, you see things that you may need or may not need in the future. A lot of things I would do is if I saw something that was, a big ticket item or something that should have been secured, I would secure it for you. And basically, the way I thought about it, if it's not tied down and it's not secured, equals not my fucking problem. Okay, and then you would have the pack rat. There's usually a bunch of pack rats in the unit, and we would always know who they were. Sister platoons, sister battalions, and you would collect all of your pack rat shit and keep it in the platoon area or the platoon lockdown, because you knew when they were going to have a layout or subcomponent, you would have bargaining, chips. You could know what you could barter for what. And I'm telling you, there were times where I'd have a tow bar, which is not even our MTOW. I found it at Yakima Firing Center when a bunch of 113s came by and it fell off the fucking Humvee. I off the track. I took it and put it in our Humvee. 4 or 5 Pioneer toolkits. Those were laying around all the time because they're supposed to be secured under the vehicle by the gas tank. And if you don't put a lock in there and lock them in position, especially when you drive off, a lot of times they vibrate and get knocked loose and fall free from the vehicle. So I'd have 4 or 5 of those. And my platoon leader and my platoon sergeant knew I was the pack rat. And on a couple occasions, I get called in to talk to the lieutenant. He's like, hey, just found out we're going to do a subcomponent hand receipt inventory. And it's going to be in a couple days, and I'm short. I'm short fuel cans, water cans. We lost one of our spare tires on the Humvee, and he'd give me all the list I have, and I'm like, okay, well, what do we have in excess? And then I would tell him what I have in excess, and I'd put them together. Then I would go about, and I would talk to other pack rats or other supply sergeants from other platoons and other battalions. And a lot of times they'd be like, so I'm looking for some water cans. What do you need? They'd be like, I could really use a complete, camo net kit. If you get me one of those, I can get you, 4 water cans and 4 fuel cans. And I would put that in the back of my mind, and then, I'd go along and I'd do my thing. And you always know, hey, first platoon's looking for this. I have that. They want that. So I give it to him. I get the item that they want. I trade it to them and get what I need. And, I was so good at being the pack rat. I remember this one time, I get called up to see the company commander. I walk into the room, and my platoon leader's in there, my platoon sergeant. They shut the door. Usually, when they shut the door, this is not a good thing, okay? It's never a good thing. Closed door with the commander, especially if the first sergeant's in there. Luckily, he wasn't. He was doing some other shit, but it was just the commander, my platoon leader, and my platoon sergeant. You get called in there, they shut the door, you go, oh, fuck. And things race through your mind, what the fuck did I do? What the fuck did anybody know? I mean, it's crazy. So I get called in there, and the company commander's like, Bob, we're having a battalion layout, and we're missing a buffer from the 2nd platoon. And when I signed for this company, there were 3 buffers, 1 for each platoon, and now I have 2. What can you do to help me out? I'm like, okay, a buffer. A buffer is a big ticket item. All right, usually usually nobody trades for those. So if you need a buffer, you're going to pretty much have to acquire it. It's not stealing, because, it's just equipment. It's in the Army. It's staying in the Army. It's basically the equivalent of rats taking straw and moving it to each other's, different people's nests. That's all it is. So I know that one of our sister battalions across the quad, because I've been over there a couple of times because I talked to this chick that was there, they would leave the door unsecured because people would come in late at night. And lo and behold, in the corner, the 3 times that I was there, unsecured buffer. Usually they keep it in a wall locker and they lock it, whatever. So I prep the paint. I put together the stencil set. We had a Dremel tool to grind off the old serial number, and another one of those metal ones where you can just put it on there and bang in a new one. So we looked at the hand receipt. We got the serial number for the buffer that's missing. About 2:15 in the morning, I run over there, go up to the 2nd floor, grab the buffer, and take the fuck off. All right. I make sure I go a roundabout way so I'm not really being followed. I had it up in our platoon area, and I had 3 or 4 different stations. It was like an assembly line. Within 15 minutes, I had that buffer a different color. I had the correct serial number on it, and I had it stenciled for our company, our platoon, and Woodward. And I put it in the wall locker, and I shut it. The next morning, battalion commander came through with the company commander. They pulled out the buffer, and they're like, "Oh, all right." They take off the one pad. It's basically it's like a little control handle, pad. You take 4 screws, you take it off. There's a 2nd serial number in there, and they looked at that and, oh wow, that one matched the one that's on the buffer. So this must be the correct buffer, and they put it back together. Never mentioned again. Boom. Let's see. There was another time I actually had to go over and I went to one of the engineer units. They were about 2 miles up, and break into their motor pool in the middle of the night, because this is the late 80s. There wasn't really cameras everywhere and all, motion detector and all. It just didn't exist. So literally I go in there with like 6 guys, 2 teams of 3, and we stole 2 Humvee tires and basically put blocks. I pulled an LA fucking tire job. I mean, that's what happened. We roll the tires out in the middle of the night, take them to our area, and put them on our Humvees and secure them to the back so they're the spare tires. Because people would do it to us, we would do it to them. Again, it's a vicious circle. Okay, now, I learned the hard way. Okay, because there was a couple times with these inspections where I would spend this insane amount of time cleaning my equipment, making sure it was good, only to have, my squad leader and platoon sergeant come in and tell me it's all fucked up. So me being the pack rat, I had a second set of everything. Everything. A lot of it was brand fucking new, and I went over to CIF on the other side of on the North Camp where it used to be on Fort Lewis, and actually traded some of my stuff to people I knew that worked behind the counter. I'm like, hey, I need a brand new one. So I had brand new rucksack, brand new helmet, brand new LBE. So in the layout, I would set out a brand new sleeping bag, put everything on there, brand spanking new, and there's nothing they could do to me. A couple times they open up my wall locker and find my old shit, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, hey, I got 2 sets of shit. This is my inspection shit. And I had a couple guys that were like, well, what do you mean you have 2 sets of shit? I go, well, sorry, sir. I'm an evil genius. I suffer from EGS, evil genius syndrome. I understand I'm not going to get stressed out over this bullshit, and you can just look at my new shit, and that's the way it is. So I got over on that. I don't always have a lot of spare time once you learn how to work those fucking angles. And another one, you go to the field, they'd come back, and then you have to clean their weapon and take it up to the arms room, and he would inspect it and kick it back. And early on, I would take it up there 6, 7, 8 fucking times to have it kick back. So finally I learned, fuck it. I cleaned that weapon well. And then I just wouldn't even fuck around. I go get a soda, candy bar, shoot the shit, and wait till, people like, hey, we want to go home. And then usually, if I did that, I'd wait till like the second to last guy to turn in his weapon. Always made it. Always. Took out the fucking stress right there. No problem. All right, well, that is basically the inspection fucking system that the Army has. Let me think of another one. All right, this is another one. This happened in the Ranger Battalion, but this is 9th ID here, but this is actually a really funny inspection system, or inspection story. We're having the battalion commander and company commander do a walkthrough. It's basically the 1 or 2 times that would happen in the year when I was at the Ranger Battalion. And I was running the sniper section, and I had 6 guys in the section, and I made the 7th. So we're watching on the VCR Dr. Strangelove. Because it takes forever for them to come around the fucking, to all the rooms. And they're coming to ours last, so we're watching the shit. And it was really weird because the battalion commander was walking down the hall just before the one scene where the guy rides the fucking H-bomb down to start World War III. So we fucking pause it. The battalion commander walks in there, looks at our shit, and goes, hey, what are you guys watching? Dr. Strangelove? We're like, sir, yes, sir. Oh, it's the bomb scene. He'd sit down there, turn it on for like 10 minutes. He's like, woo, I love this scene. And after it was over, like, you guys are good to go? And they would leave. All right, so that's the inspection system. I have a couple more stories about that, but we'll get to that down the road. You have a good day.